Hey, hey, it's Friday, yay! I'm always happy when I make it to the end of the week because the middle is rough. So, I'm dealing with like a lot of feelings today. I weigh as much now as I did when I was 9 months pregnant. Like, it is so the worst. And I think like there are some differences, with Gage. It was such a rough pregnancy. Like, I was in labor for 237 hours, and that's just what's documented. That doesn't count all the times I was in labor and didn't know I was in labor. And it took 3 years for my body to recover. Like, no joke. He was 3 years old before I started to feel like I wasn't host to an alien being and in recovery. And so with Lyra, my pregnancy was much, much easier and much more normal, which is great. Everybody should know that. If your first pregnancy is the worst, every pregnancy is different, and that is a blessing. Because like if I had been pregnant with like Lyra and had that pregnancy, I would have been like, oh yeah, let's do this 7 more times, But because Gage was so traumatic, I was all, we're never doing that again. And so it's just, let's all be aware, every pregnancy is different. But currently, Lyra's over a year old now. And she's like 14 months, And I weigh as much as I did when I was pregnant with her at 9 months. And so it's frustrating because I'm pretty conscientious of what I eat and I'm pretty active. So I joined this accountability group. I keep a record. I can show you that some other time. But like what I do is I have a calendar, and then for every day that I am active, I put like a character sticker on it. And then for every day that I eat well, I put like a star. And so the last 2 months, January and February, total between the 2 months, I probably had a star for 6 days, which means that like out of 60 days, I ate well 6 of them. And when I say like I ate well, it's not like I ever sit down and like eat a ton of junk food. It's just that I don't pay attention to what I eat, and I, eat in a rush, or I eat at my desk or whatever. And just like not balanced, like every meal should have a fat, a protein, and a carb. And sometimes my meals would just be carbs and protein, or just carbs, because who doesn't love carbs? So those would be no sticker days, right? Like I'm eating whatever I want, I'm not paying attention. Yeah, whatever. So I joined this accountability challenge, and it's like 3 days where I have to stick to this plan. And I love it. It works really well. Like I have 2 shakes a day, and that keeps me full so that when I do have a meal or a snack, I can eat a normal size portion and be satisfied. And like that's the biggest thing, because I think when people are like, oh, I'm dieting or whatever, you spend a lot of time hungry, and I don't like to be hungry. And there is something to be said for that, because I know someone who doesn't like to be full. Like he will eat a little bit and then move on to something else, and eat a little bit and then move on to something else, like, because he just really doesn't like to be full. I'm the opposite. I want to be full, and I want to eat until I'm satisfied and be done. And so it's always been a struggle, because I've been like, I see people who don't have food problems, or like my sister, she would eat sugar cookies and frosting. Like, no joke. She didn't struggle with her weight at all. She, as a full grown adult, she was like 95 pounds, but she only ate sugar cookies and frosting. And I would be so jealous, especially with like growing up, right? Because I have to be very conscientious, and she didn't think about food at all. It was, what do I want? I'm gonna sit down to this bowl of candy right now and drink all of these sodas. Whereas I was like, if I do that, I'm gonna be 500 pounds. I'm gonna be on my 600-pound life, So I think there is that comparison. And so it's a struggle to go like, stay in my own lane. Just pay attention to what I'm doing, and am I doing the right things, and what do I need to be doing for myself, kind of thing. So long story, but I joined this accountability challenge. It works really well. The shakes do help keep me full, and it does help me keep my portion sizes normal, so I'm not like when you get hungry, you kind of go into like a panic, right? You're like, I just want to eat because I just want the feeling to go away kind of thing. And so then your portion sizes are huge, and it always takes 20 minutes for your food to, you know, for your brain to register that you ate or whatever. So if you eat that 20 minutes, you're going to eat way more than you need. But with the shakes, it like takes the edge off. You're never hungry. Like you're never in that panicked mode of hungry. And so you can eat normal size portions and be like, okay, I'm done now. And just having like some sense of like, I'm in control of this. I'm not stuck at whatever my food is doing makes a huge difference. So the whole thing is that you're not supposed to weigh yourself during it. You weigh it before and weigh after. And I always weigh myself on Sundays, but I try not to do more than that because I'll obsess, right? Like there's times I'll weigh myself like multiple times a day and I'm like every pound, like no. But so I weighed myself on Sunday, and then I weighed myself before I started the challenge, and I was like significantly up, but I also had a lot of salt, and I could tell like in my hands they were swollen, and so I know that it wasn't like a lot of that was probably water weight. And then I did the challenge, and then I weighed myself today, and I weigh the same today that I did on Sunday. So I have like a net zero result, right? And I'm like, I have done everything that I've been told to. I have exercised my 30 minutes a day. I have eaten like I'm supposed to. Like, it's frustrating. But in the long run of all the things, right, I didn't have a super unhealthy lifestyle. I do have some unhealthy habits that I have to deal with, but it's not like I had never done anything. So the reality of the situation is that if I were somebody who struggled with physical activity and struggled with diet, doing this 3-day challenge, I would have a big change or a big result, right? And I would be like, wow, this really works. And then chunking it into this small achievable goal means that like you can start building a bigger habit, right? Because you can't jump off the cliff. You got to go one rock at a time. I'm not the person who never did anything active. I'm not the person who didn't have a, you know, like some cognizance of what I should be doing. And so my effect is a lot more lateral than somebody else's effect. But it's a cascade, right? So I went on a walk this morning, and generally my morning's just been more productive, right? I've done some meal prep. I've got some grocery shopping done. I'm going to work in 15-ish minutes. Like, overall, just because I started out the day with that walk, I can now start adding more achievements or having more wins to the rest of the day. And that, for me, is what I have to focus on. Like, I cannot be sucked into the like, see, I told you so, this is what always happens, because the habit that I'm building, if I say that, is that I always give it a try, and when I don't see the results I want, when I want them, I stop, right? And I need to build the habit of, I don't see the results I want when I want them, and I still keep going, you know? So I don't know. So just like working through that, like it's such a progression. It's so frustrating. I think a lot of people, especially people who struggle with weight, like you get like this bad rep because you're like looking at people like my sister who's super, super thin and eats frosting, you know, and you're going like, I'm not worse than them. How come my body is, you know? And it's not about that. You're making more effort, right? You're more conscientious, and any physical activity you do, you're doing it with a 20-pound backpack on, right? Everything that the skinny person next to you is doing is 20 pounds lighter because they're not carrying around the extra weight. So it legitimately, like, they are having an easier time of it. You are having a more difficult time of it, but like, give yourself that. Let's acknowledge that it's harder and keep pushing through it. Like, just don't quit is sort of my message to myself. And like, so when I started this accountability challenge, my accountability coach, we were like talking, and I was like, that's what I just have to keep telling myself. Just keep going. Just keep going. Like, it's a simple thing. Everybody says it. Just keep going. It's sort of my motto for the moment. Just keep going. Like, I don't care if my weight doesn't change. I'm making healthier choices for my body. Like, my lab tests are great, right? When I go to the doctor, they're not like, oh, you've got high cholesterol, you've got diabetes, you've got high blood pressure. It goes the other way. They're like, oh, your blood pressure looks great, your cholesterol looks great, your blood sugar looks great, you know? Like it's just weight, and I'm just making healthy decisions for my body. I want to be an active person, so I'm going to be an active person. I want to eat well, so I'm going to eat well, regardless of what happens with my weight. I just really hope that my body gets on board and I can fit into my clothes pre-Lyra.